everyone, welcome to Craft Apple today. My name is Caroline and we've still got a couple of weeks until Valentine's Day. And what doesn't say I love you like a don't die in the wilderness bracelet? So we're going to make some paracord bracelets, and you might be asking yourself, how is a bracelet going to save me out in the wilderness? I am so glad you asked. First of all, on the ones that I am going to put together in your kits, they have these flint toggles, and you can use that to start a fire if your matches get soaking wet. Also, this is woven so that it comes out quickly. Watch this, it's magic, folks. Oh, I forgot to unloop my loop at the end. So if I have it like so, and if I move this loop off the other loop, that's what locked it in place. And I pull on my clasp. Now I have 14 feet of rope. This one I made from my wrist. My wrist is small, it's only 6 inches. So there were about 14 feet of rope on here. And you can use this rope for any number of things while you're out in the wilderness. You can use it to get down a cliff. You can use it to get yourself out of a hole. You can use it to make a sling for your arm if you hurt your arm. You can use it to splint your leg. You can use it to tie a tourniquet. You can use it to build a travois, which is kind of like a little sled type thing to get an injured person or to get your latest hunting kill back to where you need to get it. You can use it to help put together an emergency shelter. You can do all kinds of stuff with 14 feet of extra cord. This is paracord, which is the kind of thing that you use on a parachute when you jump out of an airplane, because some people think that's fun, or some people have to do it for their job. I'm glad I don't have that job. So it's very strong. This is paracord 550, so if you're not moving anywhere and you're not putting extra force on the line, it can hold a person that weighs up to 550 pounds, a person or a thing that weighs up to 550 pounds. So it can do a lot for you if you're stranded somewhere. And there's folks who just like to go out and hike and camp and hunt and those kinds of things. And you never know when you're gonna need an extra piece of string. You just never know. So this is a bracelet that I made for a friend of mine. I made this one. He said his wrist is between 7 and 8 inches, he guessed. He didn't measure it for me, so I measured the bracelet part of it to be 8 1/4 inches so that it would have extra space to sit around the wrist, because you'll notice that the inside cords don't have space to sit around your wrist. Of course, you don't know about the inside cords yet, but you will in a minute. So when I put together kits for you, they will have a flint toggle in them, like the one that was on this bracelet, and they will have 20 feet of paracord, which is plenty of paracord to make a bracelet of even 10 inches probably. So it's way plenty. But you know, I don't know how big of wrists are out there. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you a little extra. And I've got a bunch of different colors. I've got this, I think this is called Freedom Ain't Free or something like that. It's kind of a brick red, and it's got 2 strings of reflective in there and a string of blue. It gets blurry, but you can see the colors if I put it up there. I've also got this navy color, and I've got a green, it's like a forest green, and like a bright red, and a burgundy red, and and a blue that's got like circles. It's like black with blue in the circles. You have to look really closely to see it. Yeah, and that's in the box over there. So yeah, you will have color choice, and I will have those listed on my Etsy site for sale shortly. And in the meantime, let's get going on this project. This is the blaze bar pattern, and you might be asking yourself, well, why did you choose this pattern? And one of the reasons why is because it comes undone so fast. And another reason is because you can put so much thread, so much cord into the bracelet. So you have one long piece that's, between 14 and 16 or 18 feet long, depending on your wrist size. And one really long piece of string can be cut as small as you want to, but if you have 2 or 3 short strings making a pretty fancy, colorful 2-color bracelet or something, it's harder to tie pieces together and get them to stay. So yeah, one long piece, that's why they're all one color, and they cram a lot on there. And there are other videos, there are lots of videos out there on the internet that show you how to do this. But hopefully my video will stand apart in that it will be a little more accessible. Like, I won't go as fast, and I'll try and tell you what's going what, and you know how to hold it so that you're not dropping it and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get the camera pointed down and I will remake my bracelet for you to see. I'll see you shortly. Alright folks, before we get going here, you need to have a pair of scissors. These ones are nice and sharp even though they're quite small. And you're going to need a lighter or a candle that's going or something along those lines to melt the ends. This is made out of polyester or something, or rayon, or who knows. Anyway, something that melts when it gets heated up rather than something that burns when it's heated up. So you'll need that to melt the ends. You may have to even remelt the ends if I don't do a good enough job here. But when I make your kits, I will melt the ends so that they're not all fraying by the time that they get to you. So we're going to get started by putting the toggle clasp on. So the toggle, as you can see, has a couple of holes in it, and we're going to thread one end of our cord into each hole. And that might be tricky for you. You might have to cut and remelt your ends so that they go in. They don't want to go in because the cords are fat and the holes are skinny. So one technique that helps get them through is to put them in and then twist the cord. Twisting it helps make the fibers skinnier as they go in, and that can help you get it through. So I might have to do that on both of these. You can see me just, twisting to get it to poke through. There it goes. I don't know if I can grab it yet. Oh yeah, I grabbed it. Okay, so now we're going to move this toggle to the middle of our string. So we're going to put the two ends together so that they're the same length, and we're going to pull those away evenly until our toggle is in the middle of the cord. And now all that twisting that we did, we're going to have to undo so that our cord is nice and flat. Okay, so that should be in the middle. Now we need to know how long we're going to make this bracelet. And I'm going to make this for my wrist. My wrist is 6 inches. And so we want the length of the bracelet to go from just under the toggle clasp, because when we get done, our loop is going to wrap there. So that's where our bracelet is going to finish. It's going to finish right here. We have to have enough loop left on there to get over the toggle. So here's 6 inches, and I'm going to give myself another, I don't know, ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch. I think 3/4 of an inch. Let's try that. In order to be loose enough around my wrist to feel comfortable and to have enough to get the loops around the clasp. So I'm going to put my index finger there and pinch it with my thumb. And then I'm going to bring these two strings, the long ends, back up to my toggle clasp. And you can see that I've got one side of it kind of, I think I had it like this. I have one side of it, the left side, on draped between my thumb and my index finger, and the other one I had draped around my ring finger, so that I'm making loops down here, and I'm keeping my thread ends separated from each other and on the correct sides of the world. Now I'm going to flip the string over my camera tripod, I think. It's kind of in the way. Okay, now this part is very tricky. You might have to have some help. But I'm going to pinch these here at the top between my thumb and my forefinger so that they're not going anywhere. And I'm going to take my left hand string and I'm going to wrap it. I'm not going to wrap it around this loose one. I'm going to throw it away over off to the side. And I'm going to just wrap around here once. I'm going to keep this pinched so that it's not going anywhere. And if I can't manage that by myself, I'm going to have somebody else come and pinch it for me. Okay, and then we're going to start our weave. So this left cord, you need to mark it. That'll make your life easier. Mark it with a piece of tape, tie a little piece of another colored string around the bottom of it, tie a slip knot in the bottom of it. Slip knot is going to make it hard to slip through when we go through it another time, but somehow mark this cord so that you know which one is your working string, your leading string, because we're always going to lead with this string, no matter where it is. Sometimes it'll be on the left-hand side, sometimes it'll be on the right-hand side, and we got to do something different with it. Well, what we're doing is the mirror of it, but we need to start with this one every time. Okay, so we're starting with that one, and we're going to pretend that this is one cord, and we're going to pretend that this is one cord. And we're going to go over our first and under our second, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hold this in my hand, like this, and just kind of let that go for a second. And I'm going to take my right hand side. This is my one that's draped over. I'm going to go underneath of that one, and then I'm going to go over top my right hand loop, underneath my left hand loop, and then poke the end through the corner that my left string made. This looks super messy right now. We're going to tighten it up a little bit, and then we're going to measure to make sure that we still have our correct length cords. So I'm not going to tighten this very tight right this second, but it should look like that. That's the back. That's the front. Okay, so I'm going to get my ruler back out. I'm going to, stick the end underneath the toggle again and see how far down this is going. And I think I decided to make it 6 3/4, and you can see that I've lost length. I've lost 3/8 of an inch. So what that means is I'm going to have to go up here to the top, and if I pull on the inside string, no, if I pull on the outside strings, no, if I pull on, okay, this one is on the inside, but it's supposed to be on the outside. If I pull on this string, and then if I pull on this string, 2 of the strings are going to move the toggle. Those aren't the ones we're trying to pull right now. We're trying to pull the other ones. That's going to pull that tight at the top a little bit. Well, it's going to pull it tighter. And then we're going to remeasure. Okay, I'm closer. Now I got, okay, but I still need to loosen it a little bit. So I'm going to take where I was tightening my knot and loosen that a little bit. And again, pull. Oh, I think that one was for the right string. Anyway, yeah, it was for the right string. So I'm going to pull those, and to get this side looser, I'm going to unloosen this side and pull. It actually wraps around to here and then pulls down. Okay, So let's measure that again. Okay, now the bottom of my loops are at 6 3/4, so I'm good to go now. All right, so now this top stitch looks funny, but for the next stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our marked cord. The one that was on the left last time is now on the right, and we're going to travel underneath our right hand pair and over top our left hand pair, and this string is out off over here somewhere. Then we're going to take the left string and cross it over the tail that we just put underneath our left pair of strings that makes our loop, over top the right pair of strings that make our loop, and then what I'm doing is putting my finger in there to help me pull that cord through the loop. And then I'm going to tighten it up. So I'm doing that by, I've got my loops draped over the 3 fingers of my hand, and I'm using my thumb to kind of keep them there. And then I'm just pulling on each side, pulling on those long lengths on each side to snug it up. Now, you don't want to get these knots too tight, because the whole point of this is that it comes undone easily. So you can tell whether or not it's going to come undone easily by pulling on your toggle. Don't pull it too far, just enough to see that it'll go. Then take your middle 2 cords down here and pull it back into position. And that will help you to know. That loop on mine looks big, so I'm adjusting here. Now I will note here that this red cord seems a lot more flexible than this blue cord. It's supposed to be the same size, but either this one is woven tighter or something, because this one is a lot more flexible. I can get the knots tighter. The looser you do it, the more string you can get on there, but it also looks a little messier, and it ends up being wider. So you make the decision, you make the call, test it out, see how it works. And the great thing about this project is, if you don't like it the first time, it's really easy to pull it out and try again. And I think I made this bracelet 3 or 4 times before I was happy with it. I'm real happy with it now. Okay, so now we've completed a full weave. We had 2 halves, and now they're whole. So you'll notice that the left hand string is underneath this loop right here, which means that this is our marked string. So if you have a mark on there, this is the one. You should have a piece of tape on there or something. That's the one, that's our leading cord, and because it's coming out underneath, we're going to cross over. It should always be underneath this loop right here when it's time to put this left hand string over top. So it's going to go over top the first pair, underneath the second pair, and the tail is going to be off over here somewhere. Then the right hand string is going to go under our tail, over our first pair, under our second pair, and then up through this loop. I want you to know, folks, that it took me a while to get my head wrapped around this pattern. So now that my head is all nicely wrapped around it, I can help you do it a lot better. Okay, so now you'll notice that my strings on my left and the right are coming up on top of this loop over here. Instead of having my loop come up on the front, my loop is coming up on the back. And so now I'm going to take this string, which is the one that has our tape on it, our marking on it, and I'm going to put it underneath this one, underneath the one on the right, over top the one on the left. Our tail is hanging out yonder somewhere. Then our left hand string is going to go on top of our tail, underneath the left hand pair, over top the right hand pair, and down through the loop. and then we're going to tighten it up. Now, on the other bracelet, I had this problem where, like, I would tighten it really tight, yeah, and my strings went cattywampus. So that just means they're too tight. Pull this down, loosen it back up a little bit, get it all straightened out to my satisfaction. And you'll notice I'm pushing these knots up. I'm pushing them up to get them close together. The closer together I can push them, the more paracord I can get on here, which means the more useful this bracelet is going to be to whoever receives it or whoever uses it. Maybe you're using it yourself, I don't know. So now you'll notice that I've got a nice loop on the top here, and my string is coming out from the back side. This is my working string. This is the one that should be marked. And it's going over top the left pair, underneath the right pair, and off yonder over here. Meanwhile, the right hand string is going to be underneath that and over top the right hand pair, underneath the left hand pair, and up through the loop that our left hand string left us over yonder. And then we're going to tighten up. Looks like this loop is loose, so I'm going to tighten it by pulling on the loop on the back. That's the next one down. And then I can pull this string to tighten that. Alright, now you'll notice that our strings are coming out on top of the loops, right? Our loops formed in the back. And our marked cord is this one over here on the right. So we're going to pass it underneath the right hand pair, over top the left hand pair, and pull the cord off yonder. Then our left hand string is going to go over top the tail that we just placed, underneath the left hand pair, over top the right hand pair, and down through the loop on the right side. And tighten it up. So now we've done 1, 2, 3 full stitches. And we're just going to keep doing that. I'll do a couple more here with you, and then I will let you rewind the video and watch it as many times as you want to. I'll put a smiley face or a leaf or something on the screen at the point where you're ready to lead with your left hand string again, so that you're always starting at the right spot. So again, we've got our tails coming out from the back, which means they're underneath these loops. So we're going to lead with our left string, that should be your marked string, going over the left set of cords, under the right set of cords, and off, tail off yonder somewhere. And our right hand string will be going underneath that tail, over top the right pair of strings, underneath the left pair of strings, and up through the loop. And then we can pull it tight. Okay, now we have our strings coming up on top. The loop is on the back. So we're going to take our leading string, which is now on the right, and we're going to go underneath the right hand pair, over top the left hand pair, and the string gets pulled off yonder. The string that was living on the left side goes over top our tail end, underneath the left hand pair, over top the right hand pair, and down through the hole on the right hand side. We tighten that up. Okay, that's another stitch done, or another weave done, another knot done, whatever you want to call it. And it looks like I'm leaving some of these on the right hand side tighter than the other. So I'm going back through and just kind of adjusting the tension. And at this point I can check to see that, you know, this is still moving freely. Ugh, not really. So maybe I should loosen my stitches a little bit. Just kind of wiggle it. Now these ones are looser up here than these ones down here. All right, push that up a little bit. Okay, let's do one more, and then you can rewind the video. All right, our loops are coming out underneath, or our working strings are coming out underneath loops that are on the top. These are the loops I'm talking about. So we're going to go over top. This is our marked string. We're going over top the left hand pair, underneath the right hand pair, and our tail goes off yonder. Our right hand string goes underneath that tail, over top the right hand pair, underneath the left hand pair, and up through the loop. And then I'm just tightening that down. Okay, that was the first half of the stitch. Now we're going to do the second half. You'll notice that the cords are on the top and the loop is on the back. We're going to take our working string, which is on the right now, and go underneath the right hand pair, over top the left hand pair, tail off yonder. Our left hand string is going to go on top of that tail, underneath the first two, the first pair, over top the right hand pair, and then down through the loop. And we can tighten that down. All right, folks, I'm going to leave you while you finish your bracelet. Go back to the spot in the video where I've put the smiley face and continue until you get to the end. And I'll see you in a minute and we'll finish this guy off. All right, folks, hopefully you're at the end of your bracelet and you've got something like this where you've finished your last stitch and you have a little tiny bit of loop down here, probably just enough so that you could barely hold on to it. And there's my other end. It's all nice and compacted up. I pushed it all up so that it's nice and tightly packed on those center loops. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these, I'm going to turn this around this way because that's easier for me to work with. I'm going to take one of these loops and put it inside the other loop. And now I'm going to take okay, so I put the loop that was on, now that it's upside down, it's this right side. I put that loop over top the other loop. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom and take the cord on the right side that's going into my toggle and pull on it. And that is going to cinch up this loop right here. See it cinching up? And now I'm going to move my toggle a little bit. I'm going to pull on one side and get all that slack more to the other side. Just by, pulling and pushing a little bit. And then I'm going to take the loop that's still sticking out down here and I'm going to pull on it to suck up the slack that's down there. So I'm pulling on that and tightening that up. Okay. So I do want to leave enough space up here that I can get this loop around the toggle easily. Like that. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good loop. And if this loop gets too big, what that means is I should go back here and put another stitch on. Put another weave in. Maybe even just a half a weave, if I feel like that's going to make it better. So to do that, all you got to do is, work your thread back the other way through here. To make that loop big again. Now I don't necessarily think mine needs another loop, but I'll put one on anyway. Here's my working cord over here on the left. Oh no, I might not have enough room. I must not have had my thing. Either I didn't have my thing in the very middle, or I tightened these tighter on one side. Alright, so I'm just going to stop then. So I'm going to put my big loop back through my little loop. And I'm going to go back up here and tighten. So notice I've got the right hand loop going over the left hand loop. So I'm going to go down here to the right hand side of my toggle and pull that rope to cinch that loop up. I want it cinched tightly enough that it's not going to just randomly come off. So that's not going to randomly come off. It's going to stay. It's going to stay. Okay, and so then I'm going to, get this kind of evened out a little bit. I may want to make this loop down here a little bit bigger by pulling on the right hand or the left hand side of the loop. And I've got a little bit of space here for my loop to sit when I go ahead and put the toggle through the loop. Lots of space, probably more space than I need, but it's good, it's fine. Okay, so now the very last thing that we have to do is snip and melt the ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten these last two up as tight as I can get them without it, deforming the bracelet, so that those ends do not want to come out. So it's nice and tight. Just having one stitch tight like that is not going to really affect the way that the bracelet unravels, so it'll be fine. And now I'm going to snip off my ends. I'm going to snip off one and melt, and then snip off the other and melt. So I'm going to take my lighter and just, bring it up to there, lick my fingers quick to flatten it back down. I want it to kind of lay a little bit flat so that it doesn't poke me while I'm wearing it. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to snip, and I'm going to use my lighter to melt. Lick my thumb and kind of squish that in there. It's nice and flat. Now, if you are a small child and you are trying to attempt this bracelet, please do get a parent to help you with that last part, because I do not want you getting hurt and I do not want you burning your house down. That would not be good. Alrighty, that completes it. And I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope that you found success, and I will see you next time around.